Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Earth Mac, the mad scientist. And I'm telling you right now, I have been waiting a very, very long time. A very long time to get my boy on here. This man here is a legend in his own right. This man has at least 4,000 to 5,000 comics in his collection. Basketball, football, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Marvel stuff, but we just barely scratched the surface here. We talking a boxing guru, a boxing aficionado. This man has made 12,831 predictions. And out of those, he's made 11,424 predictions that are correct, which is an 89% success rate. Better call your mama. I'm talking about Mike the Hammer Hernandez. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, Matt Scientist? Hey, man, thanks for having me on the show, brother. Hey, special shout out to all the Orange Phoenix family watching.
No doubt, man. So, what's been going on with you, Mike, man? How's you living?
Just good, brother, good. So, out here in Germany right now, it's about midnight. Stayed up to do the podcast, Just living life, man. Finishing up my career, almost done. About to head back out to the States. And then continue watching boxing, man. That's my life, that's my passion. And I know we'll talk some about my prediction to see what I got right, what I got wrong.
So, okay, now you said you've been tracking this thing since 2005, but
2005.
I know you better than that. That means you've been watching boxing way before that.
Yeah. So of course, being from Puerto Rico, right? So obviously in Puerto Rico, probably the biggest sport that we watch is boxing, right? It's just one of our passions over there. Other than like baseball, maybe some basketball, but definitely boxing. So I grew up in a boxing family. My father used to watch boxing every weekend, and as a child, I used to watch it all the time, and I keep that tradition now. My kids are boxing. I boxed a little bit too myself, but just the watching, the analyzing it, the writing, writing down how the rounds happened, all that stuff it's just a passion for me, man. But in 2005 is when I started. I'm watching so much fights every weekend, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. I decided I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna start keeping track of all the fights that I'm watching.
Right.
That grew, right? That grew and and then turned into all the fights that I want to watch in the future, right? So I started keeping a schedule, and then I started making my predictions. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna organize this where I have fighter A versus fighter B. Fighter A is gonna be my prediction. Fighter B is obviously the opponent, right? Then I started putting information in there. What titles are they fighting for? What weight class are they fighting for? The results, their records, everything in there. And I started keeping that record since 2005. And here I am. It's still going to this day.
Man, 12,000 fights. Well, actually, you're going on to 13,000, the way it's looking. So...
yeah, soon. I haven't seen all 13,000 fights. But I've made a prediction on all these fights that since 2005. And then I track, obviously, the ones that I can't see. There's some fights that are like in Russia, some fights are in Japan that I'm not able to see. I have to wait till the results come out of that. But yeah, if I could watch it, if I could see it, I'm going to watch it, I'm going to see it. That's UK fights, US fights, sometimes Japan fights, African fights. If it's on TV somewhere, I'm going to find it, I'm going to watch it.
Man, so when we talked offline, and he's telling me about your fighters, man, and listeners, we're actually gonna go through that list, man. It is a stellar list. Now, one of the people that kind of stood out to me, because I have yet to see a Japanese fighter, and Inoue stood out to me like straight out the gate. And so I immediately looked at one of his fights before the show started, and I was like, wow, like this dude is a monster for real. And like the level of power that he has, and I know, we talked and you said that he's going up another weight class, and his ultimate challenge is against Fulton. So
yeah,
and we definitely gonna jump into that prediction. So I skipped across the first question. And the first question I usually ask my guests is, what was your geeked out moment? What was your defining moment to say, hey, I'm going to pursue this? Whether it's comics, anime, boxing, what was that defining moment for you?
Man, so there's a whole bunch of different avenues for me, right? So I geek out on different things. You touch a little bit on the comic books. You touch a little bit on my card collection, right? Whether it's sports or non-sports, I have thousands of those. And of course, my passion of boxing. But to me, every single one of those things that I do brings a piece for me, right? It just grounds me to another level, right? We're aircraft maintainers. You know how it is. Sometimes you get home, you're stressed out, work, and all that stuff. I had to find something, one thing that either it was anime if I watched it, or if it was just looking at my cards, counting my comic books, or just sit back and watching a fight. I felt zen, I felt like I was in my zone. It's so hard to explain. It's not like people say, I like watching sports, I like, doing this, doing that. It's a different level. It's another world. Especially when I'm in my boxing zone, that's right. Nothing else matters around me, So I don't know. Ever since I was young, but it's those specific items, man.
So do you have like a fond childhood memory? Because I know we kind of around the same age range. So I know we'd have been to arcades. We done been, obviously we comic book collecting. I mean, you got 20 times more than me. I mean, you at the 4,000 or 5,000 range. Now, do you remember any particular comic that is like your most prized possession that you just not, you're not getting rid of at all?
Well, let me tell you this. I do have a memory. So I was born in Puerto Rico, but I was raised in New York. And when I was living in New York, I had a cousin, my cousin Joe. He's about 3 years older than me, right? So at this time, I think we were about 9. I was about 9, so he was maybe about 11, 12 years old. Yeah. And he came up to me and he gave me a binder with a whole bunch of Marvel cards in there. And I was like, I was in that age where I was like, what is this? The toys, what's going on? And I started reading through them. And these are old cards that had I wish I could. I have them downstairs, but I wish I had them up here. Where it's not just it has the card, the Marvel whatever action having up in the front, but the back had a story, right? Then it had, just like boxing, it had a record. What that either that villain or that good character had, what the record was, how many people they killed, and it intrigued me, the data associated with it. You know what I mean? Then that was the moment where I started collecting Marvel cards. That was my biggest passion at first, Marvel cards, right? Then it turned into comic books, that next level where I can read the storyline. And then from there on, as an adult, you just start collecting more and more. And but yeah, that was probably the moment. That's probably the moment. Okay,
and we definitely gonna jump into more of the comic book side of things. But let's get down to the brass taxes, man. Like, the thing that got you here is your boxing genius, man. I mean, I call you the boxing oracle, man. I remember when I first met you some years ago, man. You started talking to me about boxing. I was flabbergasted. I was like taken back. I never seen a person talk about boxing this way. It's usually the casual fandom that I get. Like, when we talk or whatever, and like, oh yeah, Tyson's the greatest, or Ali's the greatest. But for you to get down to the science of it, like, I was just like, what? One day I'm gonna get under this learning tree and learn everything there is to know, everything there is to know about boxing. Now, you gave me a list. You said your top 5 current fighters, like ranked. Start with number 1. This man right here. So
the man.
Tell me about this guy right here. Tell me about Shakur Stevenson.
All right. So if anybody is doesn't watch boxing and you want to watch the sweet science of the sport, this is the man you gotta look out for. Up and coming. He's a world champion now. So he's not a prospect. He's a world champion already at a young age. but this guy was an Olympian. I think he got silver medal in the Olympics. He lost that fight, which he should have won. He was kind of robbed on that. Kind of like old school Roy Jones, where he lost in the Olympics as well. He was robbed.
Right.
But now he is, and this guy is dominating. I think I think he's like 20-0. He's barely lost a round. Okay, so even in the fights that go the full distance, he's barely lost a round. I think it was until his like 18th or 19th professional fight where one of the judges gave one particular round to his opponent. That's how dominant he is. So he's skilled, man. It's just, and his output. So he throws a lot. He's accurate. Punching power, he's growing into his body because he's young. He's in his early 20s. I actually think he's like 19 or 20 years old. He's growing into that power. His body is growing. He's also going up in divisions. But this is the guy. This is the guy that I'm telling you need to look out for. American fighter right here, Shakur Stevenson.
So, like with Stevenson, who do you put you in the mind of? Is he like a Floyd Mayweather, like the technical type? Like he's going to win those rounds? Okay.
Definitely. But unlike Floyd, he's also a southpaw, which is a good comparison, right? Yeah. But the thing with him is that he's also aggressive, right? So he's not always great defense, very hard to hit, but he's also always pushing forward. So obviously, when a great neutralizer for like opponents that want to come forward all the time is if they have to put defense themselves, right? So that's one of his best defenses is his offense. The more he throws, the more he has the opponent thinking about, I don't want to get hit, that less than opponent throws his punches as well. Very good technical fighter. Okay.
And then the next guy is the one I was tracking, before we got on that, because again, I was curious because I never seen a Japanese fighter, and I saw his fight against Domer. I think his last name is Domer. It was like two fights.
Domer.
And I saw the entrance and I was like, okay, I really do like the entrance. Like he came out to Kill Bill, and this guy right here, this man, Inoue, man. So tell me about this guy. Educate the masses on him, because I feel like he's been floating under the radar. He hasn't been talked about.
So again, but for this guy, Naoya Inoue, Japanese fighter, also undefeated. I think he's a 2-division world champion. He's gone up about 3 divisions now. 24-0. A great KO percentage rate. The thing with Naoya Inoue is that he's in the lower weight classes, right? So us in the States, even in Europe, we're used to seeing the bigger guys, right? The heavyweights are the fights that usually attract us because these guys are knocking people out with one punch power. This guy is in the lower weight classes. They're known for like speed, super speed, and just all this crazy skill. But this guy has power from the lower weight classes. So he not only has the speed, the pedigree, the boxing skills, he has the power. And he's been train wrecking through like 2 or 3 different divisions already, cleared out the divisions, everybody in the division. Now he's climbing up another division. He's going up against Stephen Fulton. This right here is going to be this is a 5-star fight. So I know last weekend we had Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia fight, which was a mega fight. This here is a mega fight, but this mega fight is an actual 50-50 fight. This is one of those fights where you're like, if Inoue goes up in his division and beats Fulton, as I believe he will, my prediction, this guy is the real deal.
Man, it's like he got dynamite in his hands. And the second fight I saw against Donaire, and I was like, okay, this thing is 12 minutes. And I like, obviously, somebody got knocked down. But the first fight I seen, he hit Donaire, and he kind of like Donaire jogged off, and then just went to his knees. And I was like, I never seen a dude get hit so hard that he walked off and just laid down for a second. And Donaire hopped back up because he ran the distance with him. And the second fight, it was like way shorter. Inoue has matured, and that was like maybe 10 months ago or something like that, give or take. and his punch. It seems like his punching power just increased from that time period. The first time they fought.
So what happened in that fight where he knocked him down? That was a delayed reaction to that punch. That happens a lot with body punches, right? You get hit, just kind of like happened to Ryan Garcia this last weekend with that one body punch. Took a couple steps back, then realized his body wasn't going to function. He needed to take the knee. Some people recover from it, but most don't, and that's why body. So here's another thing about him, since we're talking about this, right? A great body puncher. Great body puncher. And in those lower weight classes, hitting in the body, and if you can take somebody out with a body shot, that means a lot, because those guys are small, right? They're trimmed. There's not a lot of fat, there's not a lot of excess there. So when they hit to the body, and if it hurts, if it does impact, that means he has a lot of power. He has dynamite in both hands, man.
Yeah, left and right. I mean, I saw that firsthand, like in the later rounds. I was like, oh man, this is this is bad for my boy. So,
but you gotta remember, Stephen Fulton is a champion and a great fighter in his own right. So Naoya Inoue has a big mountain to climb. Hopefully he can do it. I believe he can, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think he's going to be train wreck like he does everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy. Judging from like the highlights I've seen of Fulton and his training regimen, I like this. This is definitely his toughest test going in, and that's July 25th, right? Yeah, that's July 25th.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, July 25th.
All right, and yep. I know we spoke early on Davis, but this man right here, Gervonta Davis, is your number 3. So
I have Davis on number 3.
Tank.
So listen, this might be a little controversial. I know I talked about this with a couple of my friends. They're like, Gervonta Davis number 3. My opinion, number 3 because of what he's accomplished, right? A multi-division world champion, still undefeated, right? Now I think 29-0, 30-0, no 29-0 now with the Ryan Garcia knockout. Skills, speed, his timing, his reflexes, A+ on every level. You know, his chin. I mean, although he hasn't been checked on his chin yet by somebody who can really punch, up to this point, this man has never touched the canvas. And he's been on there with multiple undefeated fighters. He's been in the ring with multiple world champions. This guy's great. No, there's a reason why Floyd Mayweather took him under his belt as the fighter that was going to replace him in the sport. Now, I'm going to say something. When he fought Ryan Garcia this last weekend, so my head, right, my mind said Tank Davis is going to win this fight.
Yeah.
My heart wanted Ryan Garcia to win the fight. I like Ryan Garcia, right? I think he's a good fighter, not a great fighter, but I thought he had 1 or 2 tricks in up his sleeve to win the fight. So I was a little bummed out the way the fight ended. But if I go by what my mind and what I know should happen, prediction is Gervonta Davis. That's why he's number 3.
Yeah. So next man up is Canelo. So
gotta give Canelo a little bit of props. So the majority of the boxing world knows Canelo, right?
Of course.
Canelo Alvarez is probably one of the best, if not the best, Mexican fighter there is. A lot of people will argue that Julio Cesar Chavez probably is. But Canelo has done a lot for the sport, whether you like him or you hate him. A lot of people are kind of divided in the middle. He's done a lot for the sport. And I still rank him above fighters like Dimitri Bivol, who he actually lost to, because again of his pedigree, what he's done for the sport, right? Canelo has been breaking pay-per-view gates, sold out all his fights. He brings so much money to the sport. Still young, still gone up division after division to test himself, and I think that's why he's number 4. Although he has a couple of losses, right? 2 losses, one against Floyd, one against Dimitri Bivol. He also has a draw against Triple G, which personally I thought he lost that fight, but it is what it is. Based on pedigree alone and what he's done, I rank him number 4.
Okay. I think a lot of people, you know, give a lot of credit to Canelo. Man, I actually really like, you know, Canelo Alvarez. So, so Canelo, he has an upcoming fight too.
Yes, he's fighting up. Yeah, he's actually fighting, I think, in a few weeks. May 6th, actually next weekend, right?
Yeah.
He's fighting. He's fighting against John Ryder. This is not a cakewalk, but it's. I would bet my money on Canelo, without a doubt. John Ryder is a British fighter. Nothing against John Ryder. John Ryder has fought his way to have this position, to finally fight for a title, finally get a payday. He's earned that, right? The last couple of years, I think he's won like the last 6-7 fights in a row against decent opposition. So he's earned his right to this fight, maybe. But he has no chance, man. No chance. He's not an A-level fighter. I find John Ryder to be kind of like a B-plus level fighter. Something that also helps him get the opportunity is now that Canelo has a contract with Eddie Hearns, who is a British promoter.
Yeah.
You know, John Ryder is also promoted by Eddie Hearns. So, you know, easy to make the fight, easy to get those fighters over there an opportunity to fight Canelo and make possibly the biggest and largest payday that they're ever going to make in their life. So,
I feel like
for John Ryder.
Payday.
Good for John Ryder, but I don't see John Ryder surviving maybe 5 or 6 rounds with Canelo.
Okay. And next up is, I haven't heard of this guy, Usyk. So educate the masses on Usyk.
Let me tell you on that. So nobody on my list, right? Obviously, none of my fighters, my top 4 are heavyweights. If we talk later on about my top 5 all time, or if we talk about like my favorite fighters of all time, you ain't gonna find a heavyweight on there. Sorry for those people that think that probably Muhammad Ali is the best fighter ever. Not for me. It could be for you. A little controversial, right? But this guy right here, Alexander Usyk, he is the first heavyweight, probably the only heavyweight on my list. This gentleman here is 20-0, Olympic gold medalist, right? Undefeated champion now. Completely dominated the cruiserweight division. Cleared it out. Won all the titles, became undisputed. Had no competition. Gave up his titles, moved up to heavyweight. Has a little heavyweight run, about 4 or 5 fights. Fought against Anthony Joshua. Do you know who Anthony Joshua is? One of the biggest heavyweights, famous heavyweights there is currently. Beat Joshua. In my opinion, easily beat him, right? Then for some reason, Joshua wanted to have an immediate rematch. Usyk gave him the immediate rematch. Beat him again. Domination. So here's the thing with Usyk. Usyk is from Ukraine. He was one of the actually a big group of Ukrainian fighters that when this war started happening with Russia, they stopped fighting and they went back to their country to fight for their country. He was one of the ones. He doesn't have to. He's one of the ones that left the sport and went to go fight for his country. He was over there for a few months and he finally came back. Now there's a potential fight. There's a little bit of negotiations happening between him and Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. So this is a very intriguing matchup and one that had negotiations fall through, but I think it can get done. It'll probably get done this year, hopefully, if not early next year.
So, your humble opinion, Usyk and Tyson Fury, who do you think gonna win this?
You gotta put me on the spot, huh? So
I had to.
This is what I'm gonna say. Currently, I think the best heavyweight in the division is Tyson Fury.
All right.
Hands down, currently, I think he is the best. As time goes on, and the more he waits, the more chances and the better chance I give Alexander Usyk to win the fight. Right now, if they were to fight today, I probably give Fury a slight edge. The fight's not happening today. It might happen next year. If you ask me the question next year, I'm going to tell you I go for Alexander Usyk.
Okay. Yeah, judging from what you told me, I might have to pull for, Usyk in that regard. Because I feel like Tyson Fury may have a lot of distractions. Because, I mean, he's been involved with WWE a lot and some other stuff. So he may not. I mean, obviously he'll be focused to the fight, but I don't think he would be as focused. And hopefully he don't overlook Usyk, because Usyk look like he's a knockout artist. And
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Tyson Fury, right? So Tyson Fury has the advantages over anybody he fights, right? When he fought Deontay Wilder, I think what is probably the closest competition he'll have in the heavyweight division in terms of like size and power, right, is Deontay Wilder. He already beat Wilder. Beat him twice, he drew with him once, right? Usyk is smaller. Usyk is 6'6". Fury, I think, is 6'9". 3 inches makes a big difference. Believe it or not, in the heavyweight division. But this man, Usyk, is just skills above everybody in the heavyweight division, including Tyson Fury. What Tyson Fury will have to do if he fights Usyk is use his height, his reach advantage, and try to keep Usyk at bay, at distance. That might be his best chance. But as time goes, Tyson Fury is getting older. The older he gets, the slower he's getting, the less defense he has, and that's going to hurt him. He needed to have this fight. This fight was actually in negotiations, and I think they agreed on the fight. Tyson Fury, although Usyk has titles, Tyson Fury wanted like a 70-30 split, which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Usyk said, "I'll take it. Let's do it. I'll sign the paperwork." But I guess he said we'll have a rematch clause, because this is a big fight, right? There'll be a rematch clause, and in the rematch clause, I want 70, you take 30, and Tyson Fury didn't want to do it. So
man, come on.
You can say what you want to say. I mean, there's always two sides to every story. My opinion, Tyson Fury didn't want that fight.
Yeah, you think he was afraid of that fight? He trying to keep face, you think? I mean, if you were to think about it, 70-30, then a rematch, it flips. I mean, I feel like that's a fair trade.
I think it's a fair trade, especially if, let's say, you lose, right? If you lose and if Tyson Fury lost, he's the first fight he got 70-30, he got the bigger purse, and he loses. There's no reason why he should want anything more than a 7-30 to hit the opposite way. You lost the fight, right? So I think it's a little bit, I don't know, unfair. But I don't. Let me tell you this though. I don't think Tyson Fury is scared of the fight. I just think Tyson Fury doesn't have much left in boxing, right? He's getting older. He knows he retired a couple years back. He came back to the sport. As soon as he had like 1 or 2 fights, he was thinking about retiring again. I really don't think his mind's in it. He's about ready to hang him up. And there's a lot easier fights to take than Alexander Usyk. Why take on the toughest fight when I wouldn't say his heart's not in it. I don't know that. I'm not him. But if I'm going to go out and this is not what I want to do, and I'm ready to like end it, I'm not going to take the biggest challenge of my career to do that. Probably not. Yeah. When he can probably make just as much money fighting somebody like Anthony Joshua, will probably be an easier fight for him. Or one of the other British fighters, that would be so much easier for him. And make a lot of money back home too, right? If they fight a local fighter in UK, he makes a lot of money. He could go off and right off into the sunset, still undefeated, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, and call it a day. Fight Usyk, you might lose that fight. So,
yeah. And now you also have another list called your favorite fighters of all time. Now that list is short. Now, and it's 3, starting with Pernell Whitaker. So talk about it. Sweet Pea.
So when we talk about Mayweather, right? When you talk about fighters who have that slick hit, don't be hit, don't get hit fighting style, the movement, the angles, that's Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker. That guy in the 80s and the 90s was the man. He's the one that a lot of fighters emulate. And if you talk to a lot of hardcore boxing fans, and they talk about, and you mention Mayweather or you mention any of those fighters at that caliber, you can't have a conversation without talking about Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, and I mean, I was looking for so many good shots of him, and most of those shots is him dodging, and it was like he's not getting hit. You know, he like
that's what it is.
It's like you hit him.
It's a master. It's like watching a master fighter in the ring. You know, people love, especially now. You know, people really love the knockouts. Of course, that brings excitement to the sport. That brings new blood and people that want to watch it, right? Not just bring more casual fans into watching it. And some people don't like the sweet science part of it, right? I think it's boring, technical. I love it. I love it. It shows me what that fighter has been doing in training, has been focusing on, has been practicing on. And if you want to watch a master slick boxer of our generation, sure, go watch Floyd. But if you want to watch somebody before him that probably Floyd watched and wanted to be like, watch Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think with casual like boxing fans, like, oh, somebody just coming in, they do look for the knockouts. I do appreciate the science too, because I know in the realm of boxing, it's a chess game, and you got to find the right opening. I mean, you may have an opening, but that person may counter and knock you out. But it's a paper rock scissors. It's a tap dance. It's a chess game. So it's I really do appreciate that side of it. And I think I fell in love with that side of it when I saw Floyd Mayweather. I think it was Mayweather and Pacquiao. And that was at your house, actually, now that I think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was at my house.
Yeah, I was at your house. So we was and you broke, before the fight even started, like, you broke it down like a science, and you was like, yo, man, they do have a shot, but Mayweather gonna win, and this is why. And you went XYZ, XYZ. And everything that you said before that fight started happened when the fight happened. So it was crazy to see, man.
And speaking it was like 20, 30 people in my house, and I think I was one of maybe 2 people that were telling everybody, hey, Floyd got this. It's not about, sometimes it's not about who you want to win, right? Just like this last weekend, it's not about who your heart says, about what your mind says. Heart, I want the man to win all day, every day. He's for the people, so humble, a great fighter. But my mind will tell me, I'll break it down, right? When it comes to the skills, when it comes to the sweet science, had to be Floyd. And since we own Floyd, man, he is one of your top 3. Number 2.
Yeah, brings you to number 2, man.
So again, so with Floyd, let me tell you something about Floyd. Love him or hate him. A lot of people love him. A lot of people hate him. Probably more people hate him than love him. Floyd is a boxer that only comes once in a lifetime. We ain't gonna see another Floyd Mayweather. Probably not in our generation. There might be a few fighters out there that could probably get close to that level, right? But it's not just for Floyd. It's not just about the boxing, right? Floyd was the pay-per-view king. He wants to say it. He says it all the time. He went from Pretty Boy Floyd to money, to money. Without a doubt, the top. I don't know. I think he's like the top 3 of the top 5 pay-per-view fights in the world, all Mayweather. So the man, he's done more for the sport than just being in the ring and fighting. That's why he's my number 2.
I mean, his level of marketing is crazy. I mean, he was so, polarizing that WWE picked him up to do a WrestleMania with the Big Show, like, one year. And I was like, yeah. Like, this guy is like, he's made it to the point, and you can't talk boxing without saying Money Mayweather. You can't really say that at this point. And you're absolutely correct. Which leads to number 3. Oh, Felix, man, tell us about Felix
Trinidad. So this is a patriotic thing, right? So
right,
I gotta have one of my Puerto Rican fighters in there. I got Cotto back there behind me. A great Puerto Rican fighter as well, who I really, really do love. But Tito, right? So Tito is the champion of the people. He is our champion in Puerto Rico. Every time Tito went up there to the ring, he fought for us, man. It was always Puerto Rico first. him second, you know. And that growing up as a child, watching boxing in my life every weekend, every time Felix Tito Trinidad fought, it was like a holiday for us in Puerto Rico, right? The roads were closed. Everybody was at somebody's house to watch the fight, the barbecues. It was a big thing.
Wow.
He did a lot for us, man. He put us on the map. So that, to me, he's my number 3 fighter.
Man, so y'all basically treated it like a FIFA World Cup, man, because, I mean, everything's just shut down. If you know Felix is going to fight that day, you're not going to work, get the barbecue, get the beer, get the tequila, we out of here. We're going to watch this fight from start to finish. That's what's up. That's
exactly how I would say it is. Think about it like this, man. When Trinidad fought Oscar De La Hoya, this was his coming out fight, right? This was undefeated champion versus undefeated champion. At that time, De La Hoya was the golden boy, Olympic gold medalist, was on everybody's radar as being the guy, right? He had beaten Julio Cesar Chavez. This guy was the guy. On the other side, you have Felix Tito Trinidad. Everybody knew him in the sport as the guy with the left hook. If you get hit with that left hook, you're going down, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about Trinidad that was also very intriguing is that Trinidad would get knocked down almost every fight. Usually at the first or second round, he would get knocked down. So people were like, his chin, he got a dent in his chin, right? Like something's up with that. So it makes him a little bit vulnerable. But he would get up, right? Survive the round, go to his corner, and his dad. So his dad is his trainer. His dad was his trainer. His dad would come out, would talk to him, and smack him a couple of times really hard in his face, right? This is common. He would be like, pow, 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 smack him 2 or 3 times, and then tell him, all right, now you got to get in there. Now you got to show what you got. Every single time he went out there, he showed what he had. Most of the time, he would knock people out. No different in the De La Hoya fight. He got knocked down by Oscar De La Hoya again early in the fight, but got up and won that fight on decision. Now, this was I would say, some people say it's a controversial decision, but it was one of those fights that could have gone either way, right? It was a 50-50 fight from the beginning. I think Oscar De La Hoya, if you watch that fight, it's a good fight to watch. If Oscar De La Hoya believed that he had the fight won going into the last round. So what did Oscar do? I think he did something that he made the biggest mistake he could do. He ran around the ring that last round. He didn't fight. He didn't try to fight. He tried to move and just completely avoid Felix Trinidad that round. People were booing. People were angry. And that, I think, could have swayed some of the scoring. Obviously, none of the judges gave, I don't think any of the judges gave Oscar that last round. But if Oscar would have just fought or tried to fight to where he could have maybe possibly win that round, he would have probably won that fight. So I think he made a big mistake there. I think Oscar mentioned it in the interview as well, sometime later on, that he obviously made a mistake by trying to avoid fighting that last round because he thought he had it in the bag. Nope, he did not.
You know what? Felix reminded me of Hajime no Ippo, man. You now, like, listeners, I'm telling you, if you're listening to the show, you're watching the show, you want to comment, you got to tell this man how great Hajime no Ippo is, because I know for a fact this man will absolutely, positively love that anime, and that'd probably be your all-time favorite, like hands down. That definitely would be your favorite, because you're going to see similarities with some of our favorite boxers. And he was like, wow, this person's fighting like this person, this person fighting like this person. And each fighter has a certain skill set. Like, there's one that just he's like a turtle shell. Like, you can't penetrate his defense at all. Like, you got to get things down to a science. It's like a little tiny opening, and you got to crack that opening in order to break that thing down. So it's actually pretty good. Now,
I know you mentioned this, so I'm gonna put it on my list to watch.
Yep. Now, you also gave me your top 5 all-time ranked fighters, starting with number 1.
The man,
Sugar Ray.
Is the man, Sugar Ray Robinson. So, I think if you ask if you go online and you look up, best fighters of all time, if you go to BoxRec, if you go to, any of these other boxing sites, I would say 9 out of 10 times you're going to find that Sugar Ray Robinson is number one.
Yes.
Now, of course, Sugar Ray Robinson fought way before my time. There's very few footage out there of it. Obviously, the graphic and it's not as good as you could find now. So it's really hard and grainy to see and fight those fights and actually watch it and analyze it, right? But the history of this fighter. So let me give you some of the knowledge on this particular fight and why he's number one.
Break it down.
So Robinson retired with 174 wins, and I think it was like 18 or 19 losses only. That's a big deal. He was 40-0 before he lost his first fight. He lost against Jake LaMotta. You might know him from like the movie Raging Bull, where what's his name? De Niro, where De Niro played him, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So this movie was about Jake LaMotta. Well, anyways, so here's the Sugar Ray Robinson. He loses to Jake LaMotta. Gets the rematch, right? Jake LaMotta's next fight is against Sugar Ray Robinson again. And Sugar Ray Robinson wins. Not only does he take back the victory, he fights him another 3 more times during his career and beats him all 3 times. This guy was, so he's like, it's not enough, right? You beat me, you took my 0, you beat me once, I'm gonna beat you 4 times now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another cool fact about him is after that loss with LaMotta, he went, I wrote it down here just so I make sure I got it right. He went 129 wins and 1 loss before he lost again a second time.
Jesus Christ.
121 wins. So, and that was against a British fighter called Turpin. And again, just like LaMotta, he fought him in Turpin's next fight rematch and beat him as well. That's the number 1 fighter for you right there.
Sugar Ray Robinson. Look, I feel you. I feel you on that. So, okay. So I'm pretty sure you may know this. So Sugar Ray Leonard. So I want to assume that Sugar Ray's, favorite fighter was Sugar Ray Robinson. That's how you adopted the name?
I'm not sure. But remember, Sugar Ray Leonard's nickname is Sugar.
Yeah.
Ray Robinson is actually Sugar Ray Robinson. So Sugar Ray is actually his nickname. Sugar Ray is his actually nickname. So there's a comparison there, but then it's not the same. Sugar Ray Leonard is Sugar, and then Sugar Ray Robinson is actually Sugar Ray. Is his nickname. Okay.
And now your number 2 was Floyd Mayweather. Well, is Floyd Mayweather, and we talked about that. But we're gonna jump to your number 3, which is this man right here, Marvin Hagler.
Marvin Hagler. So Hagler was in that era where you had what they call the Fab Four. Right?
Yeah.
Or the 4 kings. You had Sugar Ray Leonard, who you just mentioned. You had Marvin Hagler. You had Roberto Duran. And, of course, you had Tommy Hearns, right? These fighters fought each other. You beat this guy, you lose to this guy. That guy beat the guy that you beat, that lost to the guy too. So it was a combination of that. He beat 2 of the 4, right? He beat Roberto Duran, and he beat Tommy Hearns. He lost against Leonard, who was a great fighter in his own right? But he was dominant in those victories against Duran and Tommy Hearns. Whereas Leonard beat him, but it was kind of close. And the fight against Duran, Leonard lost against Duran. Leonard beat Duran. It was close again. So to me, the only one that actually stood out, even though they all have losses against each other, was my man Marvin Hagler.
Marvin Hagler. Yeah, and they were the 4 kings. I was like, oh man, because I'm very much familiar with Sugar Ray Leonard, and I think he kind of stood out to me. Maybe because of the name he had, and I was like, oh okay. And I used to hear that name a lot. Tommy Hearns, Hitman Hearns. I'm very very familiar with him, and No Mas. With Sugar Ray. That's just It's famous. Not with Hearns though, but it's like nah, no mas.
Duran. Yeah. So I mean, I take nothing away from any of those fighters, right? You can flip them, you can choose one over the other, and I would be completely fine with that, right? These are 4 fighters that were just amazing, and it's not every day, especially now. If you think about boxing now, you don't usually get the top 3 or 4 fighters fighting each other, right?
Right.
They avoid each other. And back in that day, you had those 4 top fighters everybody avoided, were completely dominant in their own rights, and then they fought each other, and then one would fight the other, and then they would fight. It was just like, I bet if I was watching fights during that time, I would have been like jumping out of my seat to watch these fights. Now there is something like that in the lower weight classes currently, right? When you have fighters like Chocolatito and who else is out there? Roar Songpai is a Thailand fighter. They're fighting against each other, but not at this level, right? These were like the top guys of the division, not just the division of boxing at the time. So it was a great thing, and I don't think we'll see something like that in the near future. But again, you can flip flop these. You can put Leonard, you can put Duran, you can put Hagler. Probably not Hearns. Hearns is probably the number 4 of the 3, but to me, his power, his style was what lands him in number 4.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt about it. I mean, I think if you look at that era of boxing,
number three.
Yeah, and you look at that era of boxing, it's like, man, everybody wanted to smoke. And like, oh, you think you're strong? Well, I need to see you about this. Like, we need to meet in the ring. Let's see who the man is at that point. So that part I really did like respect. And moving on to one of your guys is Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, man. Again, so Manny, not just the boxing, right? Manny did something that's spectacular. He's a champion in 8 different weight classes, something that hasn't been done before. And other than Amanda Serrano, who has gone 7 different weight classes in boxing, nobody's come close to what this man has done. Manny didn't just fight for boxing, Manny fought for his people. That's another thing, that's why he's on my list. He might not be the best fighter ever, and there might be a couple fighters out there that you say, or you might think, hey, this guy has a better record, this guy did better things. But I'm looking at it as a holistic level, right? Not just as a fighter, but what he brings to the sport as well, right? Manny had all these fans, and he brought boxing to when Manny was fighting, he brought boxing to a level that had not been seen since probably, the 90s or possibly even 80s, right? And then up to the fight when he fought against Floyd Mayweather, just the thought of that fight and just thinking about them sharing the ring together, that was groundbreaking in itself, right? The amount of money that was made from this man fighting, and the previous fights that he has fought as well, because every fight that Manny fought, everybody wanted to see him fight. Everybody was rooting for Manny, and that's one of the reasons why he's there.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Manny is definitely a man of the people. Like, he's definitely well respected. That's just who he is. That's who he is at his core. And I know during that era, especially when he was like in his younger years, you couldn't hear boxing without hearing Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, and it's like it's consistent. It was like a consistent thing. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that. But
and Manny always brought it. That's the thing too. He always brought it. Manny was always prepared. He was always in weight. You can tell that he dedicated himself to it. Obviously, he had at that time the best trainer in the world with Freddie Roach. You know what I mean? He had everything going for himself. Again, 8 different weight classes. That's unheard of. Most of these fighters retire and they have, maybe three division world champion. That's usually about the average. That's about when you're young and you go in, and then by the time you're out, that's how much your body has changed over the years, right? Because you make it harder and harder for you to make the weight, so you go up maybe another weight class or so.
Yep.
So it's usually about 2 or 3 different weight classes that your body can actually take. But this man, went from the very lowest of the low weight classes up to like, junior middleweight, which is unheard of. Nobody's ever done it. I don't think anybody ever will. Again, Amanda Serrano might have a chance of doing it. We'll see, because she's also kind of tiny. So for her to go up into the bigger weight classes to where like Clarissa Shields is or anything like that, it's probably going to be too much for her. But Manny did it. Manny did it.
That's what's up. And that leads on to a boy right here, Roy Jones Jr., man.
Roy Jones Jr. So what is that? The hat up there, Roy Jones Jr. signed autographed hat.
Okay.
So let's talk about Roy. That's what I gotta say about Roy, right? If you go out to maybe Box Rec or something like that, which is usually like the Bible of boxing, Roy Jones is probably, I think they have him ranked now like 100 or over 100, right? He's not even anywhere near the top 5. I have him as a top 5, not because of what you know about Roy Jones now. It's about what Roy Jones did in his prime. Roy Jones in his prime was completely unbeatable. There was nobody. The closest person was probably James Toney was probably the only person that at that time that could rival of Roy Jones. And Roy Jones fought him, and Roy Jones dominated him, and that was it. There was nobody else. Roy Jones' skill. So Roy Jones is different. So it's not like Floyd and Pernell Whitaker, right? I talked to you about Floyd and Pernell, about their skills and the hit don't be hit and the technicality of it, right? The sweet science of the sport. Roy Jones was 100% naturally gifted. There's nobody as naturally gifted as Roy Jones was in his prime. Roy Jones would throw an uppercut while he was balancing on one leg on this side. Like something that was like, to any other fighter, is like impossible to do. His body could do. It's beautiful. It was beautiful to watch Roy Jones Jr. fight in his prime. Roy Jones obviously kept fighting past his prime, like so many fighters do, right? Whether it's money or, just you want to continue the legacy, whatever the reason might be. Roy Jones is one of those fighters. It became sad watching the later part of his career, especially actually being knocked out a couple times, coming in overweight. But I tried to just avoid that. I'm just looking at, as a fighter, if I put this fighter in his prime against other fighters in their primes for whatever generation, will he win? And I think Roy Jones Jr. in his prime could fight any fighter, current or in the past, and would probably win if they were fighting in his weight class. It's my opinion.
I feel you on that. Now there's another list. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot. So now you are familiar with the Rocky movies, obviously. What is your top 5? What is your top 5 Rocky movies? Like starting from the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs.
Oh, you put me on the spot. I tell you what, I have not seen the last Creed movie, which I need to see.
Right.
The first Creed movie was amazing. Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
The last Rocky remake version of it, I didn't like it too much. Rocky 1 and 2 have always been my favorite.
Right. Apollo.
Yeah. No, you gotta have Apollo, man. Like Rocky is not Rocky without Apollo. That's my opinion.
Correct.
I would probably say Rocky 1, 2, and Creed. The first Creed are probably in my top 3. I give you my top 3 because the rest of them, I like them all, man. I like them all. They're all good.
Except for 5 though. Except for Rocky 5.
Come on, man. Let's not talk about Rocky 5.
That's like wiped from my memory right there. Man, I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. 5? I
didn't even know there was a Rocky 5.
Yeah, they're not. There's not a Rocky 5. Yeah, what's that Rocky V? Nah. Just don't mess with that.
That's something
That's
different.
a Dragon Ball. That's a Dragon Ball
that's
GT of Rockies right there. Don't mess with that. That's non-canon. It's non-canon. So,
but there's a lot of good boxing movies though. I talked to you about Raging Bull. That's a great movie. Robert De Niro. What's the one with the girl?
I know what
you know what I'm talking about.
I think Hilary Swank is in it, right?
Yeah, Hilary Swank. That's a great movie. There's a funny movie with Wesley Snipes and was it Antonio Banderas? I think it was Antonio Banderas.
Wait a minute, you're not talking about Undisputed, is it?
No. Undisputed. Okay. That's with Wesley Snipes. That's a great movie. That's a great movie. People say that. People say that was Mike Tyson as disguise his opponent. like a version of Mike Tyson. You know when Mike Tyson went to jail and all that stuff. But no, I was talking about was it I don't know if it was Knuckle to the Bone or something like that. It's also a good movie. There's a lot of good ones, man. There's a lot of good boxing movies out there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think for a long time, as far as Rocky movies concerned, Rocky 4 was like, I don't know, it just like been my favorite for a long time. Maybe because of the soundtrack. That's probably why, actually. And that's probably why. And I'm somewhat of an 80s nut, so when I hear like those 80s like strings, I was like, oh, I dig that, right? No Easy Way Out and stuff like that. Now that I'm thinking about it, Rocky 2 has to be my number one. Has to be my number one.
Great movie. Great movie.
And then 3.
You know what? I think Rocky 2 is definitely a better movie overall than Rocky 1. I like Rocky 1 because it started it all. It's a classic. I have an attachment to it. Rocky 2 is definitely a better movie.
Yeah, and I think 2 and 3 was like my next favorite, because Rocky took an L. He was fighting setups. He'll knock you into tomorrow. Stuff like that. But and then 4, but Creed 2, I really did like Creed 2. Like that was some stuff right there. Now with Creed 3, I will say though, and we will jump into like the anime side of it. Michael B. Jordan is an anime head. Like he is an anime fan. So when you do look at that fight in Creed 3, you're gonna see some similarities in Dragon Ball Z. You're gonna correlate the scenes. You were like, oh, okay. And he said that. He like, there's gonna be some Dragon Ball Z in there. There's gonna be Hajime no Ippo in there. Like just got to pay attention and watch the fight. But so now, before we get into that, your predictions, starting with this fight right here. So,
all right. So here we got Canelo Alvarez versus John Ryder. That's happening next weekend on May 6th. It's gonna be in Mexico, so this is the homecoming for Canelo. So reason why it's the homecoming for Canelo, he should win in front of his crowd, in front of his people. My prediction is also going to be Canelo is going to be by knockout.
Okay, Canelo by knockout. Now, next up, Taylor and Cameron.
Oh, I don't know if you're going to put this up here now. I was dreading this, and there's a reason why I was dreading this. This one, unlike the other fights in here, that I wouldn't say easily, but I can more easily pick a fighter, choose a side based on my knowledge of the fighters. This one to me is one of those fights where again, I'm torn between what my heart wants and what my brain wants, right?
All right.
So here we have Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor, other than Clarissa Shields, it's probably considered the best women fighter of all time, right? I would say other than Clarissa Shields, she has a case to actually be the #1 fighter of all time. But Clarissa and a lot of people would probably dispute that. But Taylor's getting older. Taylor's getting to a point in her career that as a professional athlete, she's going downhill, right? On the other side, we have Chantel Cameron, who is a UK fighter, also undefeated, 17-0, and Chantel Cameron was a Olympic representative for the UK. Great skills as well, and she's bigger. She's a bigger girl. She's in a different weight class, right?
Yeah.
So here's Taylor going up to fight. It's undisputed versus undisputed, right? They both have all the titles under their weight class. But I think this might be the timing where everything comes for an end to Katie Taylor. My prediction, although probably not what the bookies will tell you, is gonna be Cameron by decision.
Cameron by decision. Final say. Final say.
No, don't ask me that, because then I'll change my mind. No, I'm gonna stick with Cameron. I don't know. I think she might surprise people. We'll see.
Okay. So next fight up is Haney and Loma.
Here we go. So this is the fight I've been looking for. A lot of boxing fans have been looking for this fight for a while. If this fight would have been done a couple of years ago, I would say hands down Lomachenko will win this fight. Lomachenko is one of the best fighters I've ever seen. Remember, this guy is a two-time Olympian, both times won gold medals, right? They put him up against, his first loss was like in his second or third fight, but they put him up against a champion in like his second or third fight. They were trying to make him the fighter to win a world title earliest in the career, right? I think before that it was probably Michael Spinks, heavyweight, who won a heavyweight title in the 80s, probably in his 7th pro fight or something like along those lines. So definitely with Lomachenko's pedigree, Lomachenko had 300 and something amateur fights, winning all of them except one. Lomachenko only lost once and had 300 plus wins in the amateur, 2 gold medals, right? Amazing fighter. But also getting older, and here comes the young lion, right? Devin Haney. From Las Vegas, Haney is. Great skills, and Haney has been the last couple of years on a roll. If you remember, a few years ago, there was a fighter called Teofimo Lopez, who's gonna fight soon too. We'll get into him as well. Came out of nowhere and took Lomachenko and beat Lomachenko. Something that a lot of people were like, "Wow, what's going on here?" Right? Lopez then went on to go and lost to a guy named Cambosos, another undefeated fighter. Haney took Cambosos, completely wiped him. Had a rematch, completely wiped him again. So it's one of those things where you beat the guy who beat the guy, right? Now it's, let's see if Haney can be the actual guy, right? The guy who started this whole train, which is Lomachenko. But in my opinion, Haney is too big. Haney is too fast. Haney will win the fight.
All right. Haney. Which moves on, because you did mention Lopez earlier. Josh Taylor and Lopez. So what's your predictions on that?
So this right here, this is a true 50-50 fight right here. This is one of those fights where you can go for either fighter and you probably won't be wrong. If you do by heart, by brain, by mind, whatever, this is a 50-50 fight. You could choose whoever you want. Again, Teofimo Lopez only has one loss. He lost to Cambosos in a night where he probably didn't fight the best. We probably didn't see the best version of Teofimo Lopez when he lost against Cambosos. On the flip side of that, his best night was again when he beat Lomachenko. Not an easy feat. Then, his opponent from the UK, Josh Taylor, who was the undefeated and was the undisputed champion of the weight class. He has also beat everybody in his weight class. He's looked amazing doing it. A little bit bigger than Teofimo Lopez. Great in-fight. He can fight on the inside, can fight on the outside. This is 100% truly a 50-50 toss-em fight. But my prediction is going to be Josh Taylor.
Okay. Now, what's the reason for Josh Taylor? Why would you give him like that slight edge?
The only reason why I give Josh Taylor the slight edge is, as mentioned, Teofimo Lopez. I seen him in his best, and I seen him in his worst. And it's not like his best and his worst came at years apart. They literally came a fight apart. So you don't know if the fighter that's going to come into that ring that night is the Teofimo Lopez that actually put in the work and is at 100%. I can say the opposite for Josh Taylor. Every time he comes in there, you can tell that he gives it all in the ring, that he could train for it. I'm not so sure about Teofimo. He's all about social media. He's all about causing controversies and talking smack about other people. He likes to be the bad guy in it. And sometimes I think that takes away from what he needs to do. So I don't know. He might, if he comes prepared, 100% will be a firefight right there. If he doesn't come prepared, like I think he might not be, I think Taylor takes it.
All right. And going on to, we talked about this earlier, Fulton and Inoue. This is the one that I have a vested interest in that, just mainly because I saw this fight. So let's talk about it, man. What you think?
100%, man. This is the fight. Again, I have Inoue in my top list. I have him as one of the fighters to watch. So I think it's clear to say that I'm going to pick Inoue, but I give Fulton a 100% chance in winning this fight. So as I broke it down before, Inoue is coming up in weight class, right? This is like his third weight class, going up. So he's fighting the naturally bigger man. Inoue has the speed. Inoue has the power. This man, Fulton, definitely has the skills. So it's going to be one of those fights where you have the speed and power versus the skills that could probably, and the timing that could probably neutralize somebody who has the power, right? If you can keep him at bay with the jab and his length. So it's going to be a tough fight for either fighter to win. Stefan's going to have to be in his A game, make no mistakes. Inoue is going to have to fight probably the best fighter, the best boxer he's ever fought in his career. Also the biggest fighter, probably the biggest fighter he's ever fought as well. So it's no easy feat for any one of these fighters to win. If I have to make a prediction today, exclusively, I will pick Inoue.
You know what? I looked at Fulton too. I did analyze him just a little bit. I know after the show was over, I'm looking at some of his fights too. But judging from Inoue, man, he has some speed on him, and like he has this. To me, he has a sneaky body shot. It's just crazy how fast he is. And I was like, and I do like smaller fighters because they're quick. But to see someone his size to be fast and he can knock you out with either hand, it's crazy. And that's a
good observation, right? Because a lot of fighters in the lower weight classes, right? A lot of the reasons, and I want to just bring this up real quick. A lot of people who are not hardcore boxing fans will tell you that boxing is dead, that boxing is not the same anymore, right? Yeah. And here's my opinion. So my opinion, obviously boxing is not dead because I still watch it. There's the big fights like this that are still happening. But again, it's about people wanting to see knockouts, right? People want to see guys get laid out. That's the way the sport works. And before, we in the U.S., we had a lot of American heavyweight fighters. Heavyweights are the ones that usually can knock people out with one punch. Period. Doesn't matter how good you are. You land a punch, somebody's probably going to get knocked out. You got a lot of weight behind your punches.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a good American. Obviously, we have Deontay Wilder, probably the best American fighter that we have. A couple of up-and-comers. But for a stretch there, we didn't have any, right? The heavyweight division was overrun and ruled by the Klitschko brothers, who are Ukrainian fighters. They ruled the heavyweight division for the better half of a decade, almost 10 years. So people started flowing away from boxing because the lower weight classes, it's about the speed and the skill, but not a lot about the power, right? You don't have a lot of power when you weigh 114 pounds, 118 pounds. Exception, guys like Inoue, Inoue has the skills, the speed that those lower weight classes bring to the table, but also has the power of guys that are a couple of weight classes above him. An exciting fighter to watch, and that's why I think he's gonna win the fight.
I mean, Inoue looks like an anime villain when he comes out. Like it is crazy. Like I saw the entrance when he came out on Kill Bill, man. He just had this certain look on his face, like I'm gonna murder someone in this ring. Like, just do not give me an opener, otherwise that's gonna be the end of you. And
all business.
He's all business, right? And the first fight I seen with Donaire, with Donaire he just fell backwards. He didn't get hit anything. He just fell on the ground, and then he bowed and he was like, "Nah, you good, get up," that kind of thing. Now I did see a clip where he was fighting this guy, and his name escapes me right now, but he kind of like stepped back and he just kind of like did this number right here with his glove. I was like, this is over. Hey, throw in the towel.
That's a good psychological trick. You know who did that last weekend? If you run back the fight between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, when Gervonta Davis knocked or hit, he landed that left uppercut to the body of Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia took a couple of steps back. Then there was a delayed reaction. That's also what happened when Inoue fought against Donaire, that delayed reaction. And Garcia went down, right? Garcia has to make a decision. Am I going to try to get up and fight this pain? It's a paralyzing pain, let me tell you, about a body punch, right? Yeah. And try to get up. But he looked, if you look at him, he looked at Davis while he was down on one knee. Davis, if you look at Davis's afterward in his interview, he says that when Ryan Garcia had his knee down and was looking at him, that Davis was telling him, "Get up, come on, let's go. I got more for you. Get up, get up." That's a psychological thing, when you tell a fighter, "Come on," it makes them think, right? And I think at that moment, Ryan Garcia was thinking like, "Am I gonna get up? This guy really wants to put some more hurt on me after I already got hurt." It's like, nah. And I think that took the whatever was left of him, that whatever willpower he had left, that was it. So Inoue is like that. He knows how to not just break you down physically, but also mentally.
And Ashley, we got a question. Like, what are some of the hurdles people don't know about that you have to overcome as a professional boxer?
Oh man, being a professional, so it's just like any sport, right? You have fighters who just don't make it, but you have to put so much work and ethic to be anywhere in the sport, right? If you want to make it to the top, you have to completely dedicate your life to it, right? So it's about having that dedication, which a lot of people don't have. I tried boxing myself. I didn't have the dedication to get up every day, every morning, run a couple miles, every day train, beat your body up every day to try to get better. I didn't have that dedication. So you have to have the dedication. The other thing is promotions, right? All these promotions are the double-edged sword. You have promotions that, without a promotion company backing you up, it's going to be really hard for you to get those big fights. Okay, that's just the way it goes. But at the same time, a lot of these promotional companies take advantage of fighters, right? A lot of the time, a lot of the money goes to promotion companies, to the promoter, to the advisors, and the fighters only get a small chunk of the purse bid or the fight bid. You have to be at an upper echelon level, right? The Canelos, the Floyds, the Manny Pacquiaos, to make the kind of money that people think every boxer makes. That's not true. Then you also got to pay your trainers. You got to train, the people that help you with your food, the people that help you with your whole team. It's not just you. So that's one of the biggest issues that a professional fighter has. It's a long road to get what you at. Now, of course, there's a lot of boxing that goes in that gets done in the amateurs, right? And just like anything, just like scouts for baseball or football, you got scouts in the amateurs. If you're able to build a pedigree in the amateurs where you can possibly represent your country in the Olympics, you might have a shot to just go in as a professional with a big company already eyeing you and wanting you to be part of their team. And then you're good, you're golden, right? You just got to continue winning, obviously, to stay in the promotion. But that doesn't happen with the majority of the fighters. And that's what sucks, you know? Oh, one more thing just came up on top of my mind is that a lot of fighters work to get their shot and they're bypassed by the politics of the sport, right? So for example, right now we have John Ryder fighting Canelo.
Yeah.
I already told you, I don't think Ryder is at that level, and he got his shot. Luckily, he got his shot. He deserved it, but he got his shot because the promotional company and everything like that lined up. But sometimes you get other fighters who deserve a shot, but they're not a promotional company. They're not a big promotional company. Guess what? They're not going to get the shot. You know, it's about who makes the money and about where the money is at. So some of these fighters just won't get the shot, and when they do, it's probably too late. You know. Hope I answered that question.
I think that answered the question wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of I mean, from outside looking in, you correct me if I'm wrong. You know, it looks like there's a lot of politics in boxing. There's a lot of business propositions being made, and like you had to stand out to a certain way. I think Floyd Mayweather did a phenomenal job at promoting. You know, I feel like in most ways he promoted himself, and you know, same thing with Manny Pacquiao and Roy Jones, and you know, people like that. You know, I think they did a lot of self promotion. I think since the Don King era, people kind of like, you know, I may not need to put my eggs in this basket right over here. You know, since the Don King era. But
the majority of boxers nowadays, right? So you got the big companies. You have your Golden Boy, your Top Rank, PBC. Yeah. You know, you got your big companies, and I mean, there's a few fighters that are gonna ultimately stay with that company even to the end, right? But most fighters get to a certain level with those promotional companies and they can finally break away. And what a lot of fighters are doing nowadays, which is super smart, is creating their own promotional company based, on their name. Like you have Kodo Productions. Now you have, Tank Davis Productions. Crawford went by himself, Terrence Crawford, and built his own promotional company, which kind of didn't work for him in negotiations with Errol Spence. But pulling aside like that, it helps them. I don't know. But there's also one other thing that's really big, and that's the corruption when it comes to the judges. That's one of the things that we've been talking about for years. We need to get all these older folks judging fights. Get some younger people in there that can actually see what's going on, not these blind people, because there's a lot of blind judges out there. And there's a lot of judges that already can tell you who's going to win the fight before the fight even happens because they're getting paid. That happens, right? We need to get some fresh, new judges in there as well. Because there's nothing worse about a fighter dedicating 4 or 5 months of his life or her life training for a fight and losing it because they're robbing you for it.
Yeah.
No.
True that. And Willie asked, do you feel that boxing is being snuffed out by MMA, or do you feel that boxing is goated and have nothing to worry about?
Oh, and the long MMA question, right? Thank you for bringing this up, man. No, I truly believe each sport is its own separate entity. I love what the UFC has done. I love the way, what the UFC, MMA as a whole, how it's now being promoted and shown everywhere across the world, right? And a lot of people thought that there wasn't room for both. I disagree. I think there's room for both. I completely admire MMA fighters and what they do. I just think it's two completely different sports. And you see that it's very hard to find a crossover where you have a really good MMA fighter cross over to boxing and becomes a really good boxer, and vice versa. You don't have a really good boxer that can go over to MMA and become a good MMA fighter. There's so many different aspects to being an MMA fighter that just boxing is just one thing out of it, right? Yeah, you probably had your Holly Holm, but Holly Holm, remember, was also a kickboxer, and she did have some MMA background before. But it's kind of hard to cross them. So I think they're both fine in their own lanes. I do like some of the crossover that's happening now. I know a lot of people ask me about, these YouTuber fightings, the Jake Pauls, Logan Pauls, whatever. I'm cool with it, man. Some people are like, oh, that's bad for the sport. These are not real boxers. No, anybody who gets in the ring is a real boxer. Trust me. Anybody who puts in the work is a real boxer. So, having some of these MMA fighters, the Nate Diaz coming over to fight Jake Paul now, that fight's happening in the future. I think it's great, man. You know what? More the merrier. Bring them on. Make both sports happen, right? Bring more attention to both sports. Great for the sport.
I feel that way. I think it's a good promotion. I think, like the casual watcher, they might say, hey, boxing has been the same since the 90s, but, boxing never left. I think, because people were just looking at heavyweights, and then, once that heavyweight division kind of I wouldn't say deteriorated, but it kind of was reduced, greatly, people kind of stopped watching, except for the purists, whatever. So, so when you mention Holly Holmes, so I always equate this. I always equate Ronda Rousey being Mike Tyson and Holly Holm being Buster Douglas. She the one who shocked the world, but then she met someone else. The kryptonite. Then she met someone else, and then the first defense she lost, and then Amanda Nunes. I absolutely love Amanda Nunes, and I mean she got a lot of heads on her mantle. She has a lot of heads up there. Yes. But she's definitely great, 100%. Now there is one more fight up there, and that is this fight right here.
Yes.
Clarissa Shields.
Yes, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't mention that earlier, bro. I'm glad you bring this up because you have a little tie to this, don't you?
Yes. So I'm actually going to see this fight live at Little Caesars Arena, and I think Clarissa, because I follow her on Facebook, and she always posts things all day, every day. And one of the things that she wanted to do, one of the dreams that she wanted was to be at an arena like Little Caesars or somewhere in Detroit, and she got a wish. So June 3rd. So what's your predictions on this one?
Clarissa Shields is one of the greatest. She's the self-proclaimed GOAT, right? Greatest women of all time. I think we need to take that W away. She's not a GOAT. She's a GOAT, period. In male or female, it doesn't matter to me. She is one of the greatest fighters of all time. People need to understand that. We don't need to divide them. Women, whatever. People are like, oh, women still on the side. No, she is technically one of the best fighters in the world. Hannah Gabriels. So Hannah Gabriels and Clarissa Shields fought before. And Clarissa Shields won that fight. But since that fight, Gabriels has gotten a lot better. She's progressing so quickly in the ranks. Clarissa Shields, her last fight, she won against Savannah Marshall. The only girl to beat her in the amateurs was Savannah Marshall. So she was able to beat her. She didn't look too good. I don't know if it was just because of the caliber of Marshall, or just Marshall was bigger than her. But I don't know. I saw a little bit of a couple of kinks in her game. So so I don't know. She might have a tough fight, but ultimately, my opinion and my prediction is going to be Clarissa Shields.
By decision. By decision. Okay. So no knockouts. It would definitely go to a decision.
Yes.
Okay. And Willie has another question. He said, I know I'm asking a lot of these crazy questions, but I feel this is my chance. He said, so have you ever been knocked out? Or what is that? And what is that experience? How was the feeling and how do you train against it?
Yes, I actually have.
Whoa, I did not know this. Okay.
Yes. Wow. But it wasn't a knockout where I was gone and then came to, right? It was a body shot. We talk about these body shots, right? Yeah, I was hit with a body shot and I was paralyzed you know, like when you're sleeping, like you're sleeping and you wake up and you can't move, right? That's how it was. Right. I felt like my body shut down. I didn't know what was going on. You start thinking like crazy, like what's going on. Your brain doesn't understand. At that moment, you cannot understand what's going on. It's like a short circuit, right? And I lost my air. I couldn't breathe. It was just like, bro, it's so hard to explain the feeling of just like this sadness that goes into you. You just don't know like what is going on. And I was down. I was out. Like there was nothing. There was no coming down from it. Pain. And that pain lasted for like 30 minutes after still going through my body. It was incredible. So here's the thing. So I'm a big advocate when I see fighters and I see fighters who go for the body, which is why I actually like a lot of I like Cuban style fighting, which Cuban style fightings dominate most of the amateurs with their boxing skills, right? But Mexican style fighting is that aggressive body punching, rugged style. I love it. I love it as well because the hitting to the body and knowing when to attack the body, not always head hunting. That's a different level of understanding of the sport, right? And firsthand, when I got hit to the body, that hurt way more than any headshot that I've ever had in my life. And again, it's one of those things where unless you're knocking somebody out cold with a headshot, usually the head can take the shots. You know, your head can take some of those shots, right? But the body, it doesn't matter how fit you are, a well-placed body shot will paralyze you, man. Doesn't matter how good you are, it will paralyze you.
So is it like a certain...
Thanks for asking the questions. Keep them coming.
So is it like, okay, is it like a certain part of the body that just make you fold up like that, or
so I got hit kind of like above the rib cage, almost like I would say my liver, almost in the same shot. If you look at the Gervonta Davis-Ryan Garcia fight last weekend, that body shot right by the rib cage, that was where I got hit too. And just like that, there's a little bit of a delayed reaction. And unlike Ryan Garcia, who I thought, in my opinion, was clear-headed, he just was fighting with his body to get up. I definitely wasn't clear-headed. I was the opposite. Whatever the opposite of clear-headed is, that's what I was. I was short-circuiting and my body was just like gone. It was the worst feeling I've ever had.
Wow. So I never experienced like a body shot, but I have thrown a body shot before, like in school or whatever, and I did hit a guy like it wasn't necessarily in that same exact spot that you're describing, but it was like around that area, and they like folded, and I never understood it because I feel like, you know, being younger, I feel like your midsection like your most solid part of your body, but clearly it's not. It's, you know, hitting it in the right direction.
I think I would say kind of like, you know, when they talk about like these martial artists, right? Like these old school martial artists, they knew specific points in your body, right? Where they target those specific points, you're gonna fold. That's just weak spots in your body, right? And yes, you're right. Usually, you know, the abdomen, the core is strong. It has to be strong if you're gonna be fighting, and you know, be in shape for a fight. But it's just certain punches that I would say probably hit or bruise up your organs. Your body's gonna be like, this ain't supposed to happen. Like, no, and it's gonna fold, man. It's gonna fold. Body shots, they do it, man. They do it for me.
So that explains that explains Creed too, because when he got those body shots, he was like hurting. Like he was just breathing hard, and he's kind of like power through it at the end of the day. But I was like, obviously this movie magic. I'm like, man, there's no way this dude could just live through that. But so he asked, what's the craziest training regimen you ever partook in?
I completely hate cardio. As you can see, I'm a little chubby now, right? I took the years of not doing too much cardio. But I hated the cardio, and just like the circuit, just a different circuit exercises. We used to have. I like the sparring. The sparring was good. You get your 3 minutes of sparring. You get your time. You're also learning. So you throw your shots and then you stop to like listen to some advice. You do it better, right? So you get your little breaks. But when you're doing like the circuit training, or you're doing the cardio part of it, it's just it's nonstop. You got no chance, no break to. There's nothing like, hey, take a second to. No, you're supposed to know what you got to do. You got to run 2 miles over there. You got to come back and do sprints. You got to do your crunches, your sit-ups. It's all that stuff. I do want to, since you're talking about regimen right here, Brook City Boxing. This is the boxing club here in Germany. Coach Nick put him on the map. He's a professional fighter, 7-0 currently with 6 knockouts. He's a trainer, great trainer. I don't know. I'm pretty sure, I don't know how many people will see this, but if anybody out here in Germany want to get some good training, this is the man to go to. Right now, both my kids, my daughter and my son, are boxing. My son is 9. My daughter's 11. Just amazing. My son's a southpaw, super fast, super slick. My daughter is just a beast. They have her fighting boys because she's so big. She's Tonka, tough. And they have her fighting the boys. And she's doing really good. Here in Germany, though, you have to be 12 and over to actually fight in amateur fights. What they consider amateur fights, right? So she's under the age. But when we put her to spar or fight against other kids that come around her size, even bigger than her, she's going at it with the boys, with the big boys. So yeah.
That's what's up. Like, what's her fighting style, or does she switch up?
No, but again, she's all raw power, right? She's pretty tough. So she's a diamond that needs to be polished, right? Her skills when it comes to like being a slick boxer, I like that the Pernell Whitakers, the Mayweathers, that's not her, man. That's my son. My son is the I don't want to get hit type of fighter. He's a southpaw, very slick, very technical. But my daughter, she's the Mexican style. She's the Julio Cesar Chavez, right? She knows.
She's gonna try to knock your ass out.
Yeah, she knows that you will probably outbox her. So her goal is to get in, and she's gonna go for the body. She's gonna go for the uppercut. She wants to knock you out. That's her style.
So we're trying to get to the meat and potatoes. He's like, have you ever entered the ring just to destroy and hurt the opponent? No pressure to answer. LOL. Nah,
I haven't. There's one thing that, growing up, not just watching the fights, because my dad never fought boxing, but my dad was, I like to consider myself that I know boxing when it comes to analyzing and talking about it and stuff like that. But my dad's another level. My dad is a boxing encyclopedia, right? And my dad always talked about boxing. That was his passion. That's why he got us into it when we were younger. And he was like, never go into the fight with emotions that you want to fight somebody, want to hurt somebody, right? This is a sport. And for most people, it's if you get to that level, it's your career, right? You never want to take somebody's bread, from their family. You never want to take a person from their family. Everybody has a family, right? You don't want to go in there to hurt somebody. You want to go in there to do your business and do what you train for. And that means possibly hurting somebody to take them out, but you never want to like really, really hurt somebody, right? And then a lot of the trainers, my trainer was the same way, and Coach Nick, who trains not just children, he trains adults as well. But one of his philosophy is anybody who gets in the ring, you got to give them respect for doing that, right? So you can talk the smack, you can one knock somebody down, you can one knock somebody out, you want to take them out. But at the end of the day, I don't think any fighter that really gets into the ring really wants to hurt anybody,
Yeah, I saw that with Inoue today. Like I said earlier in the show, that when his opponent fell, it wasn't because of a hit, but he just fell, and he kind of stepped back, he bowed, and he was like, get up, they tapped gloves and they kept on going. After the fight, they like hugged, and like it was like two warriors just finished. It was like I can't say Goku and Vegeta because Vegeta not Goku ass out when he had his back turned, but I can't say that. but it definitely like hugged and like respect, and we're gonna run this back eventually. This is what we're gonna do. And I also feel like, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that at the end of the day, you put in the work, right? You possibly, if you have a good training camp, you could have up to 4 months, 3 or 4 months of nonstop training. Your opponent is doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That's time that they're taking away as well from their family. They're also training to give the best fight possible, right? Even if they lose and you're the winner, right? You want that person to go in there and give the best, so you can bring the best out of you too, right? And at the end of the day, you don't want anybody to go in there trying to hurt you, to really hurt you, right? It's like,
yeah,
why? At the end of the day, we're all trying to break, make that money. We're trying to break that bread. Why trying to do that? So yeah, that's why you'll see almost after every fight, all the fighters, even after all the smack that they talk, they'll usually will hug it out at the end.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I always was told, like, even when I was younger, like when you're in a boxing match, don't go in there with emotions, because that's when you make the biggest mistakes. Because you're gonna go in there, wailing like, I'm gonna knock this fool out, like da, and then next thing you know, you're gonna get caught, and next thing you know, you're on the canvas. So
that's a good observation. So emotions, right? You want to go in there with a little bit of emotion, because that emotion will actually get that adrenaline going, right? But like you said,
yeah,
exactly what you mentioned, if you have too much emotion on you, you're bound to make a mistake. You have a game plan that's been ingrained in your head the whole training camp. You have a plan A, you usually have a plan B and a plan C, right? If you have a good trainer and you have a game and a good training camp, and having emotions will completely, take all that out of the equation, and then you're gonna make a mistake. And in boxing, you don't play boxing. We don't play boxing. Boxing is not a game, right? So you have to be in there. You have to be prepared.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I got one more question to ask. So this is what you didn't have this list, but this list that you had earlier in the show is well respected, because like you, I do like lighter weight fighters. I feel like those fights is a little bit more entertaining, as far as the science of it all. But I'm gonna ask you, what are your top heavyweights?
Currently or all time?
Let's just say both.
Okay. Let's see.
Start with current. Currently,
my number one is probably gonna be Tyson Fury.
Right.
I think he's the legitimate heavyweight champion of the world. 2 is probably Usyk.
Okay.
Usyk is number 2. 3, I'll probably still have Deontay Wilder as the number 3. Anywhere from there on down, you can take your pick. I don't think there's a lot of really good heavyweights other than those top 3. There's a lot of good up and comers, like you have Jared Anderson, a U.S. fighter. You have Andy Reese, who beats Anthony Joshua. I think Joshua is at the last leg of his career.
I agree.
So that's it. As all time, this is different. This is tough.
Yeah.
This is tough. Wow. I'm probably gonna sell out, but I'll probably say Muhammad Ali. I'll probably say Muhammad Ali is number 1. Again, not in my top all-time fighters. I think the lower weight classes have better fighters. Probably Muhammad Ali though as my top heavyweight. Second, and don't hate me for this, but I will probably choose Lennox Lewis.
Well, you know what? I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
I think Lennox Lewis is a little underrated for what he accomplished as a heavyweight fighter. I think Lennox Lewis also had a lot of underrated skills, but people didn't talk about it because everybody was so focused on Mike Tyson and what Tyson did, which eventually showed in the fight why Lennox Lewis was better. But all around, I think Lennox Lewis was a better fighter. Then I'm probably gonna say Joe Louis, probably my number 3.
Okay.
And that's just I haven't seen a lot of Joe Louis fights, but just of what he's done and what he accomplished.
Yeah.
And then a close fourth is gonna be Mike Tyson, just because Mike Tyson was a beast.
He definitely was.
And I'm gonna put Mike Tyson on there because of just the specimen that Mike Tyson was. One of those unique fighters that you ain't gonna get for a while. And a lot of people, there's a lot of fighters that try to emulate his style, right? His rigid movement, and just the way his upper body just completely swiveled from his legs. That cannot be seen nowadays. You definitely ain't gonna see it with modern day heavyweights. If you look at modern day heavyweights, though, they're probably almost twice as big as what heavyweights in the 80s and the 90s were, right? We're getting bigger. Guys are getting bigger every day. 6'9" heavyweight like Tyson Fury would probably, controversial, but would probably dominate in the earlier ages of boxing heavyweight because they're so much bigger, right? I had this conversation with somebody, and he was like, I can't believe you're saying that Muhammad Ali will lose to a bum like, Tyson Fury. They're not even on the same level. And I'm like, I think about it differently, right? Yes, an accolades alone, great fighter from that era. Probably the fighter from this era doesn't match up to that, right? But when I'm looking at, like, if they were both in their primes and they were both fighting in the same time, there's a big difference in those big boys now than there were before. And then you look at Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali got hit by Big George Foreman, got hit by a lot of these guys, right? George Foreman was a big guy, don't get me wrong. But Tyson Fury is so much bigger. If you get hit by some of these guys now, as you all know, heavyweight division, man, one punch could take you out. Easily. I just think it's different, man. It's different.
And Willa asked, I don't ever see boxers training with weighted gloves on, so how do you guys get your body to use them? Get your body to use them.
Well, we do. We use weighted gloves, or I wouldn't say weighted gloves, but we use big gloves, 12-ounce gloves, 14-ounce gloves, and so that when we're fighting, we use smaller gloves. It just feels lighter. I never fought with weighted gloves, and my kids don't fight with weighted gloves. But one of the things, obviously, what weighted gloves does is, like I just mentioned, it makes the glove that you use at the night of the fight seem lighter, and you can throw your punches quicker, right? But there's other ways of reaching that same goal, right? The speed bag is one that helps you with your speed and you're throwing your punches, right? And when you use the speed bag, you use big gloves as well, right? You use a bigger glove that you're going to use come fight night. That way it feels lighter. The same thing with fighting on the line. You got the line, you gotta fight the line or the ball, right? That all helps with your speed and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think that it doesn't get used. Like it's gone away. I don't think it's gone away. I just think it's different techniques. I myself never use weighted gloves. So there's other ways around to reaching that same goal of having that speed come fight night.
Yep. And we'll also ask when you're talking about heavyweights, he was speaking on Smoking Joe all day, South Carolina boy. Smoking Joe.
Smoking Joe Frazier, man. Great fighter. Great fighter.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And he also typed in.
Willie Hines knows his boxing. Willie Hines knows his boxing.
He knows a little. Hey, he know a few things. He said, "Thank you for answering all these questions and being the professional you are. Mad respect, bro, for you and your craft. Thank you."
Oh no, thank you, man. It's having conversations with mad scientists and you and anybody else who wants to talk boxing. It's again, it's just a passion thing. It just gets me going, and it's great. I gotta do one shout out though, man, in case you see this.
Yeah, go ahead.
My boy Z Zaragoza. Well, I don't think you're up in AZ. That was my counterpart, man, when it comes to boxing. Me and Z, just for you guys watching, Zaragoza and myself, we would go to, I think I went to like 10, 11 different boxing events when we lived in Vegas, and he would go with me to all the fights, right? And you got these fights. We saw Manny Pacquiao. We saw multiple fighters up in Vegas. But we would the fights would start usually around 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. The main card, right? The card that gets televised on TV. Mm-hmm. The undercards, you got the undercards, but then you have like the undercards to the undercards, right? You have fighters that are like 2-0 fighting against fighters that are like 1-0. These fights start like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the gate opens. So these fights are happening. There I am with Zaragoza at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The only two like spectators in this whole arena watching these two fighters fighting, like yelling at them, and they could hear us and talk to us if they wanted to. That's how empty the place was. Every time for like 12 hours straight watching boxing live. Shout out to my boy Jorge Zaragoza, man.
Zaragoza, man. You know what's funny about it? Like before the show even started, I thought about Zaragoza. I'm like, I wonder if Mike talked to Zaragoza, because it's been the same amount of time, really. And it's cool to see that y'all was hanging out. I mean, that's really, really dope, because honestly, I feel like I would be right there with you for those 12 hours. Like watching all these boxing matches and just sitting there analyzing things, meeting boxers and talking to them or whatever, just picking their brain. And for the listeners that probably may have came in late, so Mike's top 5 current fighters ranked is Shakur Stevenson. These are the guys that you might want to look into. Shakur Stevenson, Naoya Inoue, the Japanese fighter. And matter of fact, I'm gonna go back here. Just give me one quick second.
Put him up, man. Put him up.
Yep, Shakur Stevenson. You need to look at Naoya Inoue. I just saw him. This dude is a bomber. I'm gonna just tell you right now. He might be my favorite fighter just by looking at him. This dude is legit. Gervonta Davis, Tank. He just fought over the weekend. Known for the body shot. Canelo Alvarez. We all know Canelo Alvarez. And Usyk. That is the heavyweight. The one that could possibly take Tyson Fury's crown, if he allows the fight to happen. So that's one thing. So I know you got your Luffy back there. I know you just started One Piece. I know you want to get into Dragon Ball Super. He has not watched it yet, ladies and gentlemen. You got to find the time to watch it. But so before you get off, who's your favorite characters in Dragon Ball Z? Because I know you're a Dragon Ball head.
Where my characters at, man? I bring them out for you, man. Right
there.
You're
bringing them out. Oh, okay, you're bringing them out. Okay, my boy. I wanted that. I wanted that pop figure, dude. I really did wanted that. Vegeta all day, man.
I gotta love Vegeta all day, man. I gotta love Vegeta. He's just not. He's a great adversary, but he's also such a great. I don't think he was meant to be such a comedic relief like he is, but he is. He brings the comedy. He brings the passion. I love everything about him, man.
Yep. And actually, Willie put up a good point. He said Megaloboxing. Megalobox is actually good too. So Hajime no Ippo and Megalobox is definitely the ones to look at.
Hey man, thank you guys for those recommendations. I'm gonna look into it for sure.
Yep. And that funny moment with Vegeta that happened in Super. So Vegeta and Goku have been training off planet, like together with the God of Destruction and the Angel, right? So Goku was like, you know how he pop smoke? He just leaves. He just leaves the house. He don't inform anyone he's leaving, especially Chi-Chi. He just dips. And he was like, "Hey Vegeta, I'm about to go train. You ready to ride?" And he was like, "No." He was like, "What? Why you don't want to train?" Like, I'm waiting on my baby to be born. And he was like, dude, I wasn't there when Goten was born. And Vegeta just turns around. He's like, because you're an idiot. That's why. and he turns back around because Bulma was pregnant. Bulma was pregnant the second time, and she was pregnant with Bola. And so he was refusing to move. He said, I'm not going anywhere until my daughter is born. and Whis, the angel, came up. He said, oh, that's what you're worried about? Oh, never mind. Come here for a second, Bulma. So he takes his staff, and he taps Bulma's stomach, and the baby just comes out. He says... and Goku's like, oh, so now you ready to go now? And Vegeta's like... Vegeta just has this look on his face. He's like, all right, man, I guess. So that's growth right there.
I gotta catch up, man. Yeah. It's I think, I don't know, but I think Vegeta was probably meant to be not the character that he developed into, right? There's a lot of depth into that character. I think it maybe initially just a bad guy, and just possibly in and out, but it just developed into such a cool and fun character to watch, man. I can't wait to see Super and anything else that's more advanced than what I already watched.
Yeah, it's definitely better storytelling, better pacing. You see a lot of interactions with Bulma and Vegeta. Just don't touch Bulma. He will flip his shit. Don't put your hands on her. Don't smack her. Just don't do nothing to his Bulma, cause that's his Bulma. Like, he verbally says that. Like, that's my Bulma. Like don't touch her. And but man, we covered a lot, man. And let me tell you something, y'all. This might have been like an hour 50-minute show, but we still barely scratched the surface when it comes to boxing with this man. Like, this man is just a deep well of knowledge when it comes to boxing. And hey, listen, he's gonna be back on the show. Like, he will be back on the show to educate you guys. Because I've been under the learning tree. This man has literally talked the whole show because I was learning. I was relearning things, and now I have a revested interest in boxing because of this man. So,
thank you. I gotta say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on the show, man. I know it's a long time coming. Just everybody just keep on supporting the channel. Let's make this big. And yeah, for sure, man. I love talking boxing, and I would be just completely honored to come back anytime, man. Anytime we can talk boxing for days.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And all right. So until next time, y'all. Peace.